Hello and welcome. I'm your host Elizibar, and we are gonna talk about like reads of the week. Ah, isn't it amazing? This is where I just talk about stuff I've read, and then we're gonna talk about books I'm probably gonna pick up tomorrow. Chief of which is got to be Savage Avengers because I forgot the darn book. You believe that? I believe that. You know what? Before I forget, let me just write Savage Avengers down so I can remember to pick this up tomorrow because somehow I didn't get that last week. Okay, Savage Avengers, I think it's number 3. Done. Written down in the notebook. All right, so let's do this thing. So we're going to start with books that weren't so good, and then we're going to move up into books that were all right, and then we're going to move up into, hey, these were great. So, what is the worst thing I read this week? Oh man, I don't know. That was pretty abysmal. This was pretty abysmal. And this is the most derivative book I have ever read. Like, that's ridiculous. How is a book named Space Bandits boring and derivative? It, that's why. But it's not the worst thing I read this week. So, absolute worst thing I read this week probably this Jade Street Protection Services. There is nothing good about this book. The art kind of looks like, oh, we're going for this neat digital painting style, except everything is super unfinished. It feels like I'm looking at colored sketches as opposed to actual art. The writing is just whatever. Story is eh. And the only really good page in the whole book is like the last page, this last panel. This is like the highlight of the book because there's actual care and attention put to the art. But everywhere else in the book, there's no love for the art. The art is unloved. It is unloved. Don't read this. I don't even know what this is from. I think it's like a couple years ago. Let's see. It says 2017. So don't if you go back in time to 2017, don't read Jade Street, whatever. I can't even remember the name now. The Jade Street, whatever. Then we got Marine Man. This is just like a waste of time. Like it wasn't bad. It's just a waste of time. I don't know who Ian Churchill is, but this book. You know what? Hold on. I gotta mock that submarine page again. Let me find the big submarine. This is a whole page. This right here is an entire whole page of a comic book. Do you see lots of little noodly detail? Like I'm going to break out Space Bandits, all right? And Space Bandits doesn't look this bad. Space Bandits actually has it's a very similar page. Also nautical inspired, but it's amazing. Amazing, not amazing. Amazing, not amazing. Now you're like, okay, Elizibar, fine, fine. You've picked out this one thing that's just like, eh. Oh, we're not done. We're not done mocking this one page yet. Let me find Totally Alien. Here's Totally Alien. This is not in the bad pile, by the way. This is just kind of like in the okay pile. Here we go. It's a simple page, but look at the sense of void you get from it. You really feel what this guy's feeling. This doesn't feel oppressively aquatic or anything. It's just kind of like there's a boat. Third worst. Third worst. We're building up towards better here. This is a Space Bandits book. Everything in it came from another story. I'm pretty sure if I sat down and I thought about it, I could pick out the exact source material for every idea that this book has. That's crazy. Like, it's okay if you borrow some stuff, like borrowing from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly with the guy and uh, the person he was using to ramp her bounty up and keep collecting it. Like, that's straight out of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And if that was like the only thing that was stolen, just obviously stolen, it probably would have been a good book. But the book just kept stealing over and over. And that's unsatisfying. All right. Are we going to make it across the threshold of decent? Let's find out. I guess this one is the next one on the list. I didn't really talk about this. The art's not that great. The lettering makes me want to claw my eyes out, and the stuff actually going on in the book, uh, not all that great. Like there's not a lot here to redeem this book. Now there are a few places where the art's actually pretty good. Like I really dug uh, this panel up here, this panel here. Like there's something about that. It just feels right. But then like the very next panel is this. Or what is even going on here? I don't know. I don't know. So we're just gonna say this is the fourth words. Now keep in mind, this is still on top of these three books. What does that say about those three books? I shouldn't be making fun of stuff, but it happens. This is next up. It's like a little anthology book. It starts off real strong. This thing at the very beginning, it's actually pretty good. This guy's like trying to smuggle stuff in. The story's told pretty well. It's interesting. It had me hooked. And then we flip over, and this guy spends 3 pages talking about motorcycles. It's the same story. It's not a different story. It's a continuation of the same story, and he just starts talking about motorcycles. And that kind of killed it for me. Then we got this Sam Deuce story, whoever that is, and he just spends the whole thing fighting a robot. There's some neat shots in the robot fight that are kind of visually interesting to look at. But, you know, my interest in the book had already been killed. Then we get to this thing, and you're just literally reading prose accompanied by pictures. And it's totally like a Twilight 2000 kind of thing, which is interesting. But coming off the previous 2 stories, it was unfulfilling and kind of boringly disappointing. And now just below like the threshold of decent, this Carnage USA #1. And why is it below the threshold of decency? Why? Because the book made fun of Ben Grimm multiple times. Why? Why would you make fun of Ben Grimm? I don't know. The book does. And the painterly art is woefully inconsistent from place to place about how it looks, how basic features like human faces work. It's just, you know what? A lot of times the art has the same problem that Alex Ross has, where whatever's going on, like the people feel wooden. Their poses don't feel fluid. They feel like they're stick figures being posed. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's how I feel. We're gonna kind of block the light out there a little bit with my head. Oh yeah. So these are the bad books I've read this week. A lot of stuff out of the 50-cent bin, right there. Or well, Space Bandit wasn't, but the other 4 were. I guess there's a reason that stuff ended up in the 50-cent bin, huh? All right, let's move on to the threshold, the stuff that's decent or kind of interesting. Interesting enough that I don't lump it in with, oh, this book is like a failure. Totally alien. And not because of the art that's on the cover, which is just... It matches art in the interior in one of the stories. Okay? Doesn't do it for me. But the art in the previous section, it's got some style to it. The writing's kind of interesting. And overall, given that this is like an 80s indie book, this is alright. This is alright, actually. Also, it's denominated in pence, I think, so this is totally a British comic. That's weird. I kind of dug it. So, oh, you know what? Let's move the crap stack up here. We'll put it on top of Walmite. He can hold that up while I bang the camera. Good job. Good job, me. Pro level. Let's move this over here. All right. This is just a weird story. It had one thing it wanted to do, and it accomplished it. And I got to give the creator props for that. The story is probably not everybody's cup of tea. I know this art is a very unique, very stylized format. Heck, the book itself is in a weird format. But it was successful at doing what it wanted. It may not have been as horrifying as it could be, but you know what? Lovecraft rarely looks so good as it reads. That's a phrase. You got this thing. It's got some neat art in it, like every Grimm book. But, like I find most Grimm books, it's also kind of unsatisfying to read it. Look at this thing, though. Don't that look dope? This is dope enough. That image alone could have carried this book above the threshold of decency to being actually decent. She-Venom was an okay read, but it dropped us in the middle of a story, completely without preparations. And that is such a meme face. Won't you think of the children? Is what she's saying. There's this whole thing with the Sin Killer, and mostly this book didn't do a whole lot for me. I want to get to part where Venom is going to go eat the dude's head. And I know you're thinking, well, that's got to be like every page, right? Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. It's right here. This is like the highlight of the book, and not because of this awesome thing over here, which is awesome, but the text. What was that? One of those superheroes? Which one was it? I can't tell. He's a blur. Anyway, there's so many of them, I can't keep track. But the whole Sin Killer thing just seems weird, and I don't know what's going on. And it just bored me because of that. All right, New Mutants 98 reprint, facsimile edition. This is a fairly classic story. And I think this is one of those things you either like what Rob Liefeld did here, or you don't. And there's no in between. There's absolutely no in between to it. So if you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. I happen to be one of the people that likes it. First appearance of Deadpool. There's lots of action, as you'd expect. Some pretty good art. Some really badly drawn feet. What on earth is that? Very Liefeldian. Which kind of makes sense, because Rob Liefeld wrote it. And now, I thought about this one. I'm having to judge this based on the new story very strongly because it's new material. And the person who wrote this, so Tom King, does not understand Superman because Superman acquiesces to Darkseid's desire to have Superman go kill somebody. The main saving grace of this story is, and I'm showing the whole thing, aren't I? Shouldn't do that. Is when this dude is like, I pray for an angel. Superman's dropping down. That's an iconic panel. It's too bad the rest of the book doesn't live up to that iconography. So, there's, I guess I should put Eric Zahn on top. There's the decent pile. Now you're like, okay, that's great, Elizibar. What's actually good? Oh, are you ready for what's good? I'm not sure you're actually ready for what's good, but you're going to get it anyway. I don't know what order to put these in. Like, once you get up to stuff you really like, it's kind of hard to order them. I guess we'll put Punchline here, as this is just across the threshold of win. This is a good comic. Very enjoyable. The action was fun. I got it before it came out in stores, which is hilarious. Hilarious! AP still hasn't responded to my email about getting this book early. Well, I told them not to ship it to me. They shipped it anyway, but it's got that Matt Weldon art, the dialogue, the writing, the pacing, everything about it, rock solid. I have anti-complaints about it. That's how much I liked it. And I guess I got to drop the anthology. It came out on a Wednesday in right above that. There's some great stuff going on in the book. Lots of different art. Interesting interview with Peter Simeti. Kind of one story that was a little bit of a flub. It relies on the visuals too much. You don't really know what's going on, and it's kind of hard to care about what's going on when you have no idea who the characters are. All in all, very satisfying book. $1.99, 48 pages. That's hard to beat. We're going to roll up in here now. Exilium 6. I just read this. I just did a review. I'm not going to talk about it. There's one thing that really disappointed me in here, and I think that's why I don't put this book up higher, why I don't have this book crossing way above the threshold of awesome. And I think in my review, which I just recorded, I was a little harsher on the book than I meant to be. But the art's beautiful, the writing's good. Hard to beat. Hard to beat. I love the emotion on people's faces. Even the aliens, their unusual faces, they express lots of emotion on them. Deceased number 3. This is the best issue of Deceased yet. The story has gotten better issue by issue. Maybe I've gotten more and more invested in it. There's really no twists and turns, and there's a little bit of unnecessary stuff that could have been cut out. But there's one heart-wrenching moment later in the book that kind of hurts to read. Super solid, pretty darn good. But number 1, this Image book, Sea of Stars, father-son bonding time. He's basically a space trucker. They get attacked by this creature. The art is stylized but gorgeous. I love the colors. Look at these rich purples and cold blues and everything. Everything about this is appealing. Everything about it's appealing. This is definitely my number one pick of the week, Sea of Stars. For stuff I'm going to get this next week, I'm not going to bother showing my screen because I didn't pull up previews pages before this, and I don't really need to, I don't think. I'm going to get the Marvel True Believer books. There's like 2 Carnage books here. Justice League Odyssey 11 comes out. Criminal number 6. I got high hopes for that. I had higher hopes for Gogor number 3. I'm hoping that's going to be completely insane and colorful and awesome. Oberon 5 comes out tomorrow. I think I'm the only person out there reading that book. Yeah. Of course, I got Punchline 7 waiting for me in my pull box, even though I already have a copy. She Could Fly, Lost Pilot number 4. That's probably not your jam, but it's a weird, weird book, and I kind of just get it to see how weird and cringy it is, Unnatural 11 tomorrow. Savage Avengers number 3 came out last week, I think, but I'm getting it tomorrow because I forgot it last week. At least I had it written down for last week. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Justice League Odyssey has been very solid the last several issues. As long as that same team, the same writer, the same artist are still working on it, we're going to be good to go. Gogor, it's a great adventure story so far. I'm super hype. Oberon, I hope it stays kind of young adult-ish in the way it's formatted, because that story has just been a fun coming of age, discovering yourself kind of thing with crazy fairy dynamics involved. And Unnatural is just awesome if you're 18 or older. And I really wish I'd gotten Savage Avengers number 3 last week because I really want to read that dang thing. So anyway, I will see you all next time. You have a great day. Till then, have fun, take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.